Hey there, church. I'm sitting here in front of a wonderful large donation that came in from St. Anselm School for our food pantry. It was brought in by 3 people on their staff, filled the entire back of a pickup truck. And as we were carrying it in, I just noticed how joyful and really pleased these servants at St. Anselm were to be bringing the food in, and how pleased I was to receive it. I had no idea that this was coming in. And for me, this is just a wonderful expression of God's economy that's based on generous receiving, or generous giving, and grateful receiving. This Sunday in worship, we will dedicate our gifts, financial gifts for 2024. And God invites us to give with a spirit of freedom and generosity. And if you look into the column that I write, I lift up Jesus as the ultimate expression of God's generosity, God's freedom and in giving and receiving, and just how radical that is in the life of Jesus, and how I, at least, don't even begin to approach the level of gratitude in which Jesus lived, and the fullness of security in which he held on to nothing as his own, not an ounce of his life or anything else, and fully entrusted everything to God. You know, I want to be a follower of Jesus. I am a follower of Jesus. But when it comes to stewardship, which is that practice of receiving everything in life from God as a gift that I don't claim entitlement for one little small part of it, as Jesus did not do that. You know, I am so far behind what a disciple in the fullness of discipleship is really called to. And maybe you feel that way too. So what I suggest that we do on Sunday when we bring financial pledges, and we also just bring ourselves and our lives with our time and our trust and our energy and our hope and our schedule and our abilities, that we ask God to help us to give until we feel a little freer, that we feel that we're not holding on so tightly to what we have, whether it's money in our accounts or our sense that we want to keep control over our energy and our time and the kinds of things that we give ourselves to, that we say to God, this is all yours. And I want the Christ alive in me to take fuller charge of what I end up doing with it, so that my life might fully express the way of God's kingdom in this world. This is no small thing, and it's very difficult to talk about. I confess that I have a hard time talking about stewardship and money in the church, partly because I know that I wrestle living it myself. But this is where, as I write, it's good for us to remember that the church is full of sinners made righteous by grace, people who fall short and aren't justified by what they do or by what they give, but by the Lord who has given all and calls us more and more into his freedom of receiving and giving and enjoying the wonderful economy of God's grace. So, some of us gave ourselves to prayer, and I'm so grateful for that. On Sunday, there will be an easel up for us to write what we heard from God and what we said to God, things that God especially made dear to our hearts. Let's continue to be after the heart of Christ as people who are loving God, sharing relationships, serving others from the heart of Christ.